So what about you? Like, what's your travel horror stories?
Well, I got a few. Yeah, I made some notes.
Okay, so let's.
So yeah, for myself, it's not like anything like to the extent of planes, trains, because there's some pretty extreme stuff. I never had to share time like that with a stranger, though. I have. I have had to spend the night in a room before with like somebody I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't get too specific on that, and this has nothing to do with horror stories. I'm just giving some context. For work and whatnot, in the past, I've actually done a conference where I've had to share a room with someone that I don't know because they're part of the conference that I'm doing, and it helps with the billing or something like that.
Yeah, they don't want to fork out too much.
Yeah, and like it can feel kind of strange when you're sharing a room with somebody that like you just really don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm pretty good with a lot of different people. I could talk with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big deal. But no, as far as the horror stories go, I got a few. They might not be that bad, but one, I have a lot of family that lives in Texas, and that's where I was born. So my aunt, uncle, got some cousins down there. So there's still a lot of my mom's side of the family that's down there.
I want to visit Texas.
I've
never been to Texas, but I would love to go to Texas.
Oh my gosh.
Not yet.
Let's do it.
Someday.
Road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Texas.
Yeah.
My family has a lake house down there.
Hey, that's cool.
They do.
Yeah.
No,
that's where George Strait's from.
Is he from there?
He's from Texas. Yeah.
That makes sense. Is that like the stereotype, like you're from, like Texas is so country.
Texas and Tennessee and all that.
Yes.
He's got like a big like $6 million house for sale. So I mean, you can move there and buy that.
So Kim, I don't know if you know this. I don't have $6 million.
I mean, I don't either. But
now maybe I could get maybe I could get approved.
You might.
I don't think I got that kind of credit.
I don't.
My
or
debt
collateral.
to my debt to income ratio, collateral. It's not going to justify $6
million
place, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah.
No. So what I was going to say. So my mom, she was primarily a single mom. I mean, my dad was in the picture, but they're divorced, so we didn't really have that as far as a family unit. But when it came to vacations, and it is something that I will appreciate about my mom for forever, and I hope that when I have children, if I do, that I will do something like that, is my mom felt it was very important for us to have a yearly summer vacation. Like, she really liked the idea of once a year as a family, we got to go away and do something.
Yeah, I like that.
I really am. I don't know if she's listening, hey Mom, thank you for that. It was great.
That's very good, yeah.
It's something I hope I can have the fortunate means to be able to do that, because not everybody could do that, and it wasn't just enough of like, hey, like we need to go like out of town. She liked the road trip. My mom really liked the road trip aspect of it. Don't take a plane, even though I'll be honest, if my mom had the money, we probably would have flew, but I think she did it for financial means, but she also really liked the road trip aspect, and I love a good road trip.
There's nothing like a road trip. I mean, there's the stuff that you see on the way, and just having that time that you're in a car and you got to talk.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we were younger, because I am not, I'm trying to think, I'm on the younger side. I'm 30. I've said that a few times. But when we did these trips, I mean, this is before social media. It's before a lot of that stuff. Yep. We had to talk to each other.
Yeah.
But at the time when we started doing these trips, I was a little kid, and I had my older brother and my younger brother with me, but we did a lot of trips back and forth in my mom's Toyota Camry, which eventually became my hand-me-down car, but it's not very big.
No, they're not very big. But they're good cars, though.
They are
they're
good
reliable.
Cars. The piece of shit lasted for like 250,000 miles. It had... I gotta give some love to my old crappy shitty car. So by the time that POS was sold, it had, cracked windshield, bunch of the door handles were busted off. It didn't have working AC. CD player didn't have it. Busted radio, and then there were so many engine problems because they had like oil leaks and whatnot. This is just it's a quick sidetrack, but it's funny. So I drive a Kia Soul now. You've seen my car.
Yeah.
I still drive it. But on the morning where I was gonna take my old POS car to the lot and trade it in, like the thing was on the verge of death. I'm like, I don't even know if it's gonna make it to the lot. It's so bad. And I remember my dad, he was like, okay. He's like, well, I'll meet you, and I'll drive the crappy car, because he's a bit more mechanically savvy than me, and so he's like, I'll drive your shitty car, and then you drive in the Camry, the Kia Soul, because I had it for the night before from the dealership. And I remember on the morning of, like, it couldn't start. Like, it was like you just turning it over. And then eventually the thing did start, but, like, it just, like, let out a huge bang, and all this blue smoke and shit came out of the exhaust. And my dad was just like, just go! We gotta go now! Like, I don't know if it'll start up again. And we just drove, and I remember I was just like, Dad, I had him on the cell phone, and I was like, Dad, I'm like, if you gotta run through lights, just do it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll pay for your police ticket. Like we gotta get this to the dealership. It's not gonna make it. I guess if the dealership employees are listening, like, I basically knew that I was selling you an obsolete car, but you paid for it anyway.
Hey, those old cars are good. Like, I have a Toyota story similar to that. I won't take too long, but
you're good.
So I was in an accident with my car. Very reliable car. I don't even remember how many miles it had on it at the time of the accident. The whole back end of the car was crushed into almost past the back seat. So it was almost to the crushed in half, basically. And we actually, we have a friend that has a body shop and took it to him. And, we're just, pretty young and newly married. So we're not, loaded with money. So we're trying to, like, figure out what's the most easy way to replace this car or fix this car, whatever. And we found another car, and he literally cut the car in half and replaced the back half of the car. So those old cars are, like, really reliable. I mean, I still remember that car, and I drove it forever until it finally just, it started having a bunch of issues. And
I was just raised that when you get a car, drive it till it's in the dirt.
Yeah. Me too.
But there is a fine line, though, because if it eventually becomes, like, overly expensive to repair, well, then it doesn't make sense to dump a bunch of money into a crap box. Like, you need to be economic.
Yeah, like, if it's just going to keep breaking down every week.
No. But the reason I bring up the POS Toyota Camry in reference with this Texas trip is where we go in Texas, it's about a 13, 14-hour drive, which you can do in a day. When we were kids, though, my mom would want us to stay the night at the hotel, usually around Kansas area, because it was hard on the kids. I don't think she wanted us to do that. So, thank you again, Mom. But one of the early trips I remember, so we got my mom in the front, stepdad in the front seat, and I got my three, one brother on the side. I'm in the middle. I didn't get the window seat.
Yeah.
But my little brother was such a shit. I'm gonna call him out. He knows this. I'm still upset about this to this day. So he was probably like 2 or 3 or something, some little baby age, or maybe a little past an infant. But he kept biting me. And like he wouldn't stop. And so like I kept like, Thomas, stop it! Like I don't even know how old I was. I was a kid. But he kept biting me. And his dad, my stepdad's just like, shut up, like, let him do it.
Yeah, they're
like,
trying to drive.
Like, they're like, you shut the hell up back there. Just like let him do his thing. And I swear to God, Kim, by the time I got down to Texas, I had a vampire feeding on my arm. I had freaking blood marks and bite marks all up and down my arm. It was horrible.
Oh, that's
so he
bad.
fed on me. He just chewed on me like a freaking dog. And it was awful. It was awful. And that happened, I think, for like at least 2 years because he was a baby.
Is he still a vampire? Or
thankfully, no. I don't think he tries to bite people anymore.
Okay. I figured he probably grew out of that stage, but I don't know.
I would freaking hope, unless he like does something with his girlfriend, but like that's I don't need to know. That's
a different podcast.
I don't need to know about my family, what they do in that department. But so this was always a road trip that we would make to our family's lake house in Texas. And that lake house is still there. It's still in the family, which I'm very happy about. I have a lot of great memories there. However, it's an older place.
Awesome.
Well, some lake houses are like really nice, and it's at Lake Tyler, so it's in Tyler, Texas. To give you some context,
yep, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Some people don't know where that's at.
I've heard of Tyler, Texas.
A few hours south of Dallas. Okay. Just put it that way. It's a nice lake. It's on Lake Tyler. But there's some pretty rich places there. Pretty nice. But for there, it's actually a neat story, and I might be botching the history a little bit, but it's an old lake house, and it's got a lot of bedrooms. I think there's like 5 or 6 bedrooms in the thing. It's not like it's big. It doesn't seem big on the outside, but there's a lot of little rooms and whatnot for people to sleep in. There's these little twin beds, so that you can fit a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it used to be an old military barracks, actually.
Oh, cool.
I found that out. I don't know when I heard that. I could be full of shit. I don't know. But anyways, because it's old, and it's mainly used as a vacation type house, it's not like people are staying there year round. Which that meant there was a lot of big roaches. A lot of big roaches.
Nice.
And that's still a thing that happens. Like the last time I went there, probably maybe been like 2 or 3 years, you always had to watch out for the roaches at night. And so that was always a travel thing where I was just like, I was afraid to get up in the middle of the night because I'm like, there's going to be a big roach. And I'm going to step on him.
It's
I'm
going to be like
out.
on your face or something.
I get really freaked out about bugs. Oh, Clarice is back. Very cool. She seems to like...
White Claw?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've never given her that before.
Are you sure?
I don't think so. Though she can be kind of mischievous. That's all right.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Curious like a cat.
She does like to sit on this futon often.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, she's probably gonna get comfortable.
Yeah,
she might be staying here.
Okay.
All right. That's
good.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
3's a good crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 2 more quick. So one. The longest flight delay I ever had was in New Orleans. This was with an ex-girlfriend. But I went down there. Her family, her cousin was getting married or something like that. So we were at New Orleans, that area. But on the way back, we missed our flight because we didn't return the car. We rented the car and we didn't realize how much time it... Hey. What are you doing? You can lay there. Just don't do that.
Scratching post.
Okay, see, I ruined it. Now she's like, you...
No, she's...
But no, we were delayed at this airport, I think, for like 10 hours.
Oh, jeez.
And we had to stay there, and I just remember, like, I feel very uncomfortable sleeping in airports. I just think someone's going to steal my luggage or something like that. But that was pretty bad. But then the last one I have is my fiance right now. When she was here, this was in 2019, we took a road trip to Chicago, and we stayed there for about 2 or 3 days. We did an Airbnb, and it's actually one of the best trips I've ever had in my life. I mean, I guess maybe that's part of the reason I'm marrying her. I'm just like, oh, like she's amazing. She is fun because I'm sure you can relate to this, Kim. The first time you take a trip with your significant other, it's that's kind of a step in a relationship. You're spending some time. You're spending the night. It's
spend like a long amount of time.
You learn a lot about each other and like how you operate.
Yeah.
But it was the first one we did. But we took a Lyft, so not Uber, but the app Lyft. If you're if you're familiar with this, but it's a service just like Uber. We took this ride and we were gonna go to the zoo. We were gonna go to the zoo in Chicago, Lincoln Park Zoo, I believe. And so we're riding with this guy, and he's super nice dude. Very personable, nice, not overly talkative, like the ideal driver you would want. He's a very nice guy. But he rear-ended somebody.
Oh.
He rear-ended somebody, and we were like a block, maybe like less than a block from the zoo. And we just felt bad. Like, we're just like, oh, God, like, what was that?
Yeah,
he clipped somebody on the back of a turn, and what's worse is, like, there was a baby in the lady's car, and all this. And, like, Isola and I were just like, do you want us to stay? Because, like, he felt bad, but he didn't mean to do it. And it wasn't, like, a bad thing, but he rear-ended them for sure. And I just remember, like, I'll never forget, like, he's just like, nah, he's like, you guys just go. Just go to the zoo. I'm like... What? And it's like, I'm sorry. It's like I can't really get you closer. It's like I gotta stay here for insurance, and I gotta check. And I'm like, we're just gonna leave the scene of an accident. Like, okay, like, but we did, because like there were witnesses, but like it felt so strange. I was like, I can stay. I'm like, and we gave the guy a good review. Yeah, he didn't mean to do it. Yeah, we said that it happened and whatnot, and we got credited back. I didn't have to pay for the ride. So I guess that happens. Like the somehow the service like determines when an accident happens, and they just automatically refund you.
Oh.
But I felt really bad for that guy. But it was just an interesting thing. I left the scene of an accident to go to a zoo. It was just I don't know, not really a horror story, but it's an interesting one.
One you'll always remember. Yeah.
So I gotta talk about some creative sequences.
Okay.
That are in this movie.
So let's do it.
In particular, now this is a bit more of the maybe not so obvious ones. Clarice, I swear to God, if you start using my futon as a scratch post again, okay, you seem to be perched on there. It's all right.
She's just relaxing. Yep.
She's good.
She's good.
So, do you remember early on in the movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that when Neil Page, he's waiting at the Chicago O'Hare Airport, and he's sitting across from Dell, and they're kind of looking at each other, but he's like, I'm not really sure who this guy is. Like, I think he's familiar.
Yeah, like he's reading his book, and he's like, looking over
the Canadian Mounted, which I'll never forget. That's some weird Canadian sex novel he's reading. I don't know why. I always found
he's
it
Canadian.
Funny. He is Canadian, so it is fitting.
Funny. But yeah, he's like peering over the top of his book.
Yeah, and they're looking at each other, and it's one of my favorite edits in movie history where he's looking, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to his face in the cab when he opened the door earlier in the movie, and he's just like, boom! Like, just has like this pure deer in the headlights look.
And the funny thing is they both get that look at the same, not the same look, but they both, it's like the light bulb go, well, I think Neil, I think he knows who he is right off because he's like, that's the guy that stole my cab.
Yeah.
And then John Candy's like sitting there kind of like, I know this guy. And he's trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, like, they both, like, Steve Martin's just kind of, he sees the moment the light bulb goes off.
But here's what I appreciate. And this is definitely a technical film thing that I never have heard anybody talk about this, but I gotta give it a shout out. It's an amazing edit because if you pay close attention, you might have to pause it when you get to the scene because it's so quick. So when he's remembering him, it shows the cab door. It shows Dell. He's wearing the clothes he was wearing then, and he's going like, boo! He's making that dumb face.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention, it's photoshopped in there, so the background is not the cab. It's still the airport lounge. So he's just remembering just the still of him, but he's still in the context of the entire airport.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna bring up a visual of it.
I was gonna say, yeah,
so that you can see it because you got to see it to appreciate it. But it's such a little thing, but it's a creative touch that's so smart.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I gotta bring it up here.
It does sound familiar.
Let's see. So Steve, oh my gosh, Steve Martin remembers John Candy. Planes, Trains. That's got to come up, right?
Yeah, I mean...
It's got to come up. I think... Okay, so here, fill the air while I'm looking for this.
Yeah, so we're just perusing a bunch of pictures from this.
Yeah, I gotta find it.
Yeah, I always love that part because he just... It's funny when he's like trying... I know you. I know you from somewhere. And he's being all friendly about it and Neil's just over there like, yeah, you're the jerk that stole my cab.
I'm looking up the clip.
You're just gonna have. Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to like
the only way
see
I
the
can
clip.
do this. Let's see. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
This is really a good clip. I don't know if we're gonna be. I don't know. Are we gonna be able to find it or?
Find it. Like it's such a little. Okay, there's the hurt scene.
Yeah, I don't.
No,
I don't.
My gosh, I cannot be the only person that appreciates this. Maybe I am.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think I'm gonna find it.
No, I think it's.
Oh wait, yes.
Oh, there it is.
Yes. Okay. Welcome to the Disney. Oh my gosh, we don't care about the Disney bundle.
Yeah, we're gonna. You gotta get through all
there we go. I don't care about the audio here, so let me skip.
Yeah, we want to see the visual of. Right. Okay.
So, I think they skipped it. It's like right before this. No, they literally. What are you doing, movie? They skipped
the whole thing.
It's. Oh my gosh, I can.
Okay, apparently no one else apparently saw that.
Unbelievable.
Apparently they didn't appreciate that part of it.
All right. Well, the next time you go back. When he has that brief instance where he remembers him, I'm telling you, pause it and pay attention to the background because it's just the airport. It's not the cab. Okay, yep. I love it.
I'm going to have to watch that a little closer because I do remember the part you're talking about, but I guess I just was maybe focused on his face, so I didn't even see like the background of what he was.
It's okay.
But yeah, so he was remembering his feel, but he had... He was in a different place, but he was in the current place at the same time.
But it's one of the reasons I like this movie is because you would ordinarily you could just cut right back to that scene. You could just do a quick cut and just show that, and the audience would probably be fine.
Yeah.
But the director and writer, same guy, chose, because he probably thought it would be funnier, to just do it like that. And it's a bit more realistic, because sometimes when people are remembering people, they're not remembering the entirety around them.
No.
They just remember the person.
No, and now you say that, I do remember something looked different. Like when it showed... Yeah, when it showed his face, remembering that, it did look kind of different. Yeah, I'm gonna.
If we have some time, I may try to find it after this, but it's okay. Look it up. I promise it's good.
Yeah.
Now the key creative sequence is the satanic car accident, where John Candy turns into the devil.
Not funny, but funny. Yeah.
It's pretty damn funny.
Yeah.
I gotta hear just your take on that scene where it's like, you're going the wrong way. And he's just like, how the hell would he know where we're going?
I know, that was so funny, because they're driving, and he's like, what are they saying? Oh, he's like, they said they're going the wrong way. And
he's drunk.
How would he know where we're going? And he's like, Steve Martin, yeah, how would he know where we're going? And then it's like they're just totally like oblivious to it. And he's like throwing the like, oh yeah, he's drunk and whatever, and you're gonna kill somebody. And then Steve Martin looks down and he's like sees, he sees that they're going the wrong way, and then all of a sudden he's like looking around.
And the music is perfect for that scene, because it's just dun 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 dun.
And he's trying to do the like yell, but he can't get it out. Yes, yeah. You've had that where you're like trying to like get somebody's attention and you don't even,
And it's so great because when it goes through, it's such a creative sequence, because it does a brief still frame where like the scene just pauses like right when the lights are right up there. It just if you notice, it pauses for like a split second, because it's like they're gonna die, and they go through and they're just like they're winding through, and then the whole lighting changes. He looks over, Dell is Satan. And it's not
skeleton
like,
face and
well, and it's funny too, because like they didn't try to like go all out and like put a ton of prosthetics on John Candy. They just put like a little clip on satanic ears,
it was like a little costume,
red makeup on, probably put some LED lights to like make it look red and evil. And he's like, ha!
And then they like somehow squeeze in between the two semis in that car, and then they get out and he's like, oh, this ain't that bad. They'll be able to buff that out.
And again, like, it's one of the best sequences of the movie, because it's great from a creative standpoint, because you just see Steve Martin is just purely horrified. It's like, I'm going to die.
Yeah,
he's
like
not
he doesn't
thinking
even...
clearly. John Candy would be the devil in that scene. It's like, you just drove me down a freaking
like
runway.
He's like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna ride this out and see what happens. Because what can you do in that instance? I mean, you're like, what I
love is like when the car breaks, right when they get out, it just and you just see the trunk. It just goes flying. And there's no audio. There's no nothing. You're just like, there goes all his shit.
And they're just watching,
And then they stop, and they're both, like, absolutely horrified. I mean, John Candy's horrified. They both are. But then Steve Martin, he has his fingers on the dash, like, and he's just like...
They're like...
they're so tight in there. And I think John Candy destroys the steering wheel. Like, he just, like, he gripped it so
I think
tight
he's
from
just,
fear.
Yeah.
I do think if I was in that is probably just a white knuckle situation. If there ever is one, you just pray for dear God that you're not going to die.
I mean, ask my husband. Every time I'm on I-80, that's me. I'm like
do you just get nervous around like the semis, or just because
like
of the traffic?
Well, everything, like just everybody like flying, and then you're trying to like fly up on people and try to go around, and they're flying up on you, and then people are cutting over in front of you, and they're it's just bad.
No,
so
it's
I'm always like white knuckling
I know.
I'm grabbing like the handle.
Well, and then another scene, because it's just like they're so close together, but the car burns on fire shortly. It is shortly after that.
It smolders for a little bit. We talked about a little bit. You can kind of my son pointed this out the other night when we were watching it, that You can actually see some of the smoke billowing a little bit in the
Yeah.
back seat from the cigarette laying there, because it's been back there for a while at that point.
Attention to detail.
Yeah,
It's good.
So.
But what I love, I mean, apart from like they're so relieved to be alive at that point, and the trip's so badly gone to shit from the bus ride, from the train not working, and everything.
They're like at this point they're like, what else could go wrong?
And that's what's great, because when the car catches on fire, they do that slow turn. They're just like, it's on fire.
And they each one turns and looks back, and the other one turns and looks back, and.
But then in the very comedic way, I mean, I love it, is when he finds out that Dell was not able to rent the car due to his shower curtain ring skills. He had Steve Martin's credit card. He did. He didn't mean to, but the man was desperate.
Yeah,
he needed the car, and this was back in the 80s. They're not gonna you can get away with that. But then I love when he grabs him by the shoulder. It's just like, I don't remember exactly what he says. Like, give it back! Like his wallet. He's just like, because he like shakes him around in his big stuffy parka.
Yeah.
And it's just such a silly thing that they focus on him moving around like that.
Yep.
I always appreciate that. I laugh my ass off when I see that.
And then of course he's like, I can't.
He's like, I can't. He's just like, why not? Because.
And put it back into your wallet. He put it in the glove box, and
then
of
course he's like, are you mad at me? And then nothing. Then he gets slugged. I'd be pissed off
just
too.
out of the blue, just like that.
Okay, so this was something that I had prepared before. I think it's as fitting time as any. Because after this scene, not that I guess we're doing scene by scene breakdown, they get to this motel. They're pretty pissed at each other. They want to get separate rooms. John Caney tries to get a room with a Casio. It's a Casio.
Yeah, he puts it on and
does
the
very, very good sales technique to show his $2 Casio.
Nice. Yeah, like this.
But that's actually a really heartfelt scene, though.
Yeah.
Because he's out in the car. That's when
I know.
We might as well get to this part quick, but you start to get the sense that his wife, the situation with his wife, I won't spoil it to the end, but we don't know what's going on with his wife, but it seems like maybe he hasn't talked with his wife for a while, because he's talking to himself, talking to his wife, talking to her. It's a sad scene, but in the scene when he eventually gets into the room, they start enjoying some shooters and booze. They do. Now, I tried to maybe locate one, because I don't always do this on the podcast, but I was trying to be fitting for the movie. I got just a little bit of whiskey. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all right?
I mean, we got to stay true to the film,
Okay. I'm going to get it ready, but I need you to, when you talk about how you would sell, what would you sell to get a hotel room? Like, are you going to sell? Do you have a nice watch?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, I don't even wear a watch right now, but
they get in the way when I type. I don't like that.
I don't know. Like, I'm not a big jewelry person, so the only thing I got on right now is like my wedding ring. So, and I couldn't do that because
I don't think that's
it's my wedding ring, and I really don't know. Like, if I have to go off what I'm wearing right now, and I was in that situation, I'd be like, Can you have my sweater? I don't know. My socks. I really don't have anything right now. I guess if I was a little more, I don't know. I'd sell my cell phone, because I really don't. I don't need it that bad. I don't know. What would you pawn if you were trying to?
If it's just literally the clothes or the materials off my back, and not to get terrible, but I'm not going to do any favors of the bad kind, because in some situations people could consider that a thing you could sell.
I mean,
we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
No, but let me think.
I'm not gonna. I'd rather just. Yeah, I'd rather just.
I don't know. I'd probably be screwed. I got a smartwatch, but I don't wear it that often.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Maybe. I don't even have like a money clip. People don't even.
Yeah,
do
like
that.
I don't have any. Like the other day,
anymore.
I had a dime in my pocket because I found it on the ground. But that's.
I think this one has less in it.
No, that's.
And I don't, cause see, I don't have like shot glasses.
See, like it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really look.
I don't. But so, in honor of Planes, Trains, late great John Candy, and if you've experienced hotel hell, we're just gonna take I don't even normally admit this, but it's okay. We're adults. We're fine.
We're both over the age of 21.
Yes.
Disclaimer.
We're not being bad, but just a little teeny bit of whiskey. Cheers, Kim.
Cheers. I think I just spilled some.
As John Candy says, wow. Actually,
wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of a holiday taste.
It's a little. Oh my gosh! I just had like 3 pop-ups come up on the same time. No, oh my gosh.
Oh, they're trying to show you something else. I don't know. Maybe they found that clip of the movie.
They did. Okay, stop the pop-ups. Okay.
Now it's gonna, yeah.
All right. I appreciate that. Appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thanks for thinking about that. That was nice to kind of have that little part of the movie that we could
generally speaking, I anytime I have a guest on, I actually try to, I just want them to be comfortable. I'm not saying I get people bombed. I don't do anything like that, but sometimes I'll be like, hey, like if you want something to drink beforehand, just to kind of loosen you up a little bit, like that's not a big deal. I'll give you some food, do whatever.
Yeah, pretty easy. We haven't been drinking. This is the first drink we've had.
This is true. This is true.
We're doing
now,
pretty
Kim,
good.
this leads us to the next scene, the car rental scene.
Okay.
It is hands down the scene that gave this movie an R rating because there's literally no use of the F word beforehand. In fact, the MPAA, if you know anything about how ratings get established on films, I believe there was some whiff of someone trying to even put it past an R rating because I believe it's 13 or 14. Disclaimer:
14.
fucks that are in the movie.
Yeah, there's I mean, we could count them, I guess, but
it's a lot.
It'd be a little hard to.
But it is interesting, and I heard Steve Martin talk about this in an interview that he gave about the scene where he's like, it's interesting. He's like, when the movie came out, no one complained. There wasn't a bunch of like uproar of like, how dare you, because it fit with the story. It made sense because the character was at their breaking point.
Yeah.
It felt relatable. And if you think about it, when he is delivering all those F-bombs, it's not even really like in a derogatory way. He's just pissed. No, he's just frustrated.
He is that guy that has just reached his breaking point.
Yeah.
Like he's gone through this whole day of hell, and he's
days of hell.
Days of hell.
Yeah.
And he's I mean he gets to the place and he's like, I got my ticket and my car's not here. Of course. I mean, absolutely. Like, why would the car be there, at this point? And then he has to trudge through the snow, and he falls down the hill, and he, about gets hit by a truck, gets sloshed with slushy mud and snow. I mean, he's just at his limit. And, I mean, there's days where people get that way. I mean, I've had days where it's like, I just, give me one more thing, and I'm going to go off. So, I think people understood. Like, they've all been there. Everybody's had that point where they're like, I want to scream, but then you try to be nice.
Well, and when he's doing it, it's just like, it's the only word he can think of. It just simplifies.
It's like it just comes out. Like
yes. But I do love that it starts with and she's been in John Hughes movies before. I can't think of the actress's name. But the wonderful character actor that plays the secretary is just like, oh, hello, Marjorie.
Yeah.
And she's being rude because, like, there's a line of people and she's talking about Thanksgiving plans on the phone.
Yeah, like, and then she does, like, the little turkey, like, gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yeah, she's like, gobble, gobble,
yeah, and she's like, and everybody's just standing there, like, and she's not even looking at everybody. She's just like, oh, yeah. Oh, and then, I gotta go. Because, like, I'm being inconvenienced because I'm supposed to help these people.
Okay, now Kim, I don't know if I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot here, if this will be bad, but I'm really tempted to quote the scene.
I think you should.
Do you think it's bad?
So I mean, I'm not condoning swearing, but I don't want to
offend my audience.
I am a person that I feel like if you're going to swear, you might as well just do the granddaddy and just throw the F-bomb because I don't really like any of the other words. So if I'm going to swear, that's what the word I'm going to throw out. So I mean, I think if you're going to talk about this movie, you gotta
it's
just
in
do
the
it.
movie. It's in the movie. I didn't come up with this.
And I'm going to be really impressed if you actually can get it down. Like, are you going to do like the play-by-play, or you got it?
I'm gonna try to. I mean, I'm not saying like I do like a bunch of impressions, but let me get the exact quote up on here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to do my best to deliver it as much as I remember.
I would really enjoy seeing that. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good.
Because this is part of the movie that it just always makes me laugh, and it's one of the most memorable parts of the movie, even though it's just so simple. It's just he's just ticked off, but it's one of the best parts of the movie. I feel like he's got to get his frustration out somehow, and if that's the way he's gonna do it, then so be it. I guess. I mean, we've all been there. So yeah, let's.
I gotta bring it up here.
All right, let's.
I don't want to see this book. Okay, hang on.
You gotta love Google searches. Sometimes it brings, it's funny, sometimes it brings exactly what you're looking for, and then other times you're like, what in the hell is going on here?
I think I got this. So, this is gonna be fun, Kim. Right, you want to do a little role playing? You want to do the? I got the script right up here. Okay, let's do this.
Well, geez, I didn't wear my glasses.
Okay, that's okay. Here, let me pull this back a little bit. I think people can still hear. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So here, no, it's all right. So, I come in. I'm pissed off. You are car rental agent. Let's see how. Okay, you can go ahead and start. Yeah, I'm ready.
Welcome to Marathon. May I help you?
Yes.
How may I help you?
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking cheeks. And then you can give me a fucking automobile, a fucking Datsun, a fucking Toyota, a fucking Mustang, a fucking Buick, 4 fucking wheels and a seat.
I really don't like the way you're speaking to me right now.
And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of fucking nowhere to fucking keys to a fucking car that isn't fucking there. And I really didn't care to walk down a fucking runway to come back here and watch you smile at my fucking face. I want a fucking car right fucking now.
May I see your rental agreement?
I threw it away.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, what?
You're fucked.
I'm sorry. It's not,
I think we got it.
I think we got it.
We're ready for Hollywood now.
Yeah, I'm not putting in the bleep button or anything like that. You know what you're getting into. This is a movie from 1987. Come on.
I don't think anybody that's watched this movie that loves this movie, which, I mean, how can you watch this movie and not love it? I don't think anybody that's watched this movie can, like, everybody's going to reference this scene. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. I don't know a lot of movies that have dropped that many F-bombs so quickly together. Maybe Scarface.
Yeah. I mean, especially from the guy in the movie that he doesn't strike me as a guy that probably swears a whole lot. He probably...
No, he's a pretty timid guy.
He's pretty timid. He's pretty businessy and, like... straightforward. Yeah, he's kind of like office-y, corporate. Yeah, he's kind of that guy. He doesn't strike me as the type to just, throw the F-bomb out every, 5 seconds.
But his delivery is fantastic when he does it.
It is. Like, he just is, like, right on. Like...
So I do love that scene. There's a lot of other scenes we can talk about, but I do think we need to get into the heart of Planes, Trains, because that is it's one of the reasons why I think this movie it has the lasting power it does. It was released I actually had it in my notes here. It was released on November 25th.
Okay, so it was pretty much Thanksgiving.
They knew the Thanksgiving parallels, and of course it's taking place during Thanksgiving, so it's most definitely a Thanksgiving movie. But what I want to ask you, Kim, is, broadly speaking, when you think about compassion for others and what this movie says about compassion, what comes to mind?
So this movie and this, the scenes at the end for sure. I mean, especially with Del, like you mentioned earlier, the thing about his wife at this point. Yeah. I mean, if we've seen it, we know what goes on. But for the person that's watching it for the first time, you're kind of wondering,
Did you know when you watched for the first time, if you remember, if something was up, or did you suspect that there would be a twist?
I kind of suspected after watching it for a while and just kind of the way he was talking. But at first, like at the very first, I didn't. You know, I was like, okay, he's trying to get home for whatever reason. He's on the road and stranded somewhere too, just like, you know, Neil. But, and then, yeah, after a while, and especially the point where he, you know, they're sitting at the, you know, the restaurant and he's like, I haven't been home in years.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point where you're like,
that's weird.
Yeah, that's kind of odd that he says that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. There's just so much with him, especially. I mean, there's a part in there where, I think it's the part where they're sitting and having their drinks at the hotel room. Mm-hmm. And he, you know, Neil's like, you know, talking about his wife home and, you know, waiting for him to get home. And she's going to have this elaborate separate, you know, like Thanksgiving dinner and stuff ready. And everything's going to be ready when he gets home. And he's going to be welcomed home and everything. And, you know, he's like, to the wives. And, you know, and he's like, yeah, to the wives. And, you know, talking about it. And he's like, yeah, you love your wife, right? You know, and he's like, you know, love's not a strong enough word for how I feel about my wife. And at that point, you're just kind of like, you know,
yeah.
I mean, you just know, because previous to that, he was, again, sitting in his car, freezing out there and talking, you know, kind of talking to his wife.
But like, that says a lot about him, though, too, as a character, because some people would be like, let me in, goddammit. Like, they'd be pissed.
Yeah.
He was willing to accept. He's like, I pissed this guy off. I deserve to freeze.
Yeah, it's like he just takes, it's kind of like when, you know, we were talking earlier about how he just takes the in your face, like, you suck. You know, I mean, he's just basically telling him, like, what a stupid, you know, idiot and whatever you are. And he just, he's that, like you said, he sat there and he listened to it. He let him finish his ranting about what a annoying person he is, and then he was like, you know,
I think it takes, I mean, again, to touch back on that, but I mean, it takes such a strong person to take that direct level of personal criticism and not crumble. Like, I've never had one. It's
to not fight it, to just be like, hey, this is, apparently I offended this guy or I pissed him off or whatever. And then for him to like go to the hotel room, and he actually, I mean, he was fully prepared to spend the night in that car, like trying to figure out how am I going to sleep in here without freezing to death. But at the same time, he's like, I'm not going to go trouble him because I've already apparently
it's like
wore out my welcome.
No, he accepted it, but I mean, that's part of the reason why it's such a brilliant movie. Like, the characters are very well written. This is not just a, you know, mindless comedy. It's very character driven, and the characters are real people. I mean, they're so well written. I can't understate that.
They are very.
But when I think about compassion in this, because it's impossible not, especially when you get to the end, it's such a tearjerker. I mean, it really is. But I don't know. It makes me think of, like, you know, your own life, and you see other people out there, and I just wonder. Now, granted, this was at a different time. This is in the 80s when this happened, but, and I don't want to come off as like a downer, but I don't know how many people would help out a total stranger like that. That would just really take a chance. Just really take. I don't even like to say the word take pity on someone. I don't like to say that, but I don't know. I think this movie has such a great message about compassion, and that it's just like everybody needs mercy.
I love that, because, you know, we definitely live in a different time now, and it's sad. I mean, I don't see people. There's still your people out there that are willing to do whatever they can to help. I know both of us would be that person too. But there's so many that aren't. I mean, it's kind of like all about me, you know. And this day and age, I mean, I'd like to think that there's people out there that would do this kind of thing. I know if I was in this situation, I would. I mean, especially after a while, they've really spent quite a while. They've got to know each other in such a short amount of time.
Well, and you know, it's interesting you said that. You said get to know each other in such a short amount of time. It's one of the things I'm always extremely fascinated with by actors and people in their trade. It doesn't matter if it's a comedy or drama or whatever. People, generally speaking, on movies are getting together for a short period of time, and they are sometimes telling very intimate stories, sometimes not. It's funny, but you have to get close with people that you're not with that much. And, you know, similar to planes, trains, and automobiles, I do think that you could share compassion with somebody that needs it, even if it's someone you don't know very well.
Yeah.
Because they don't know each other well. They've known each other a couple days.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, it's not like they're talking about each other's like past all that often, or they're talking about where'd you grow up, or what do you do?
They haven't really got to know each other's backstories about, they know, obviously they know they're married and they know they have kids or whatever.
Yeah.
But, another thing is too, it brings up, first impressions of people. Because if he, it could have easily been in the real world. It could have been like, oh, this guy, like these two guys, he stole my cab and then he's annoying me and he's this and that. And, in the real world, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Maybe he would have just been like, I'm avoiding this guy. I don't want anything to do with him. First impressions, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I've had even in real life experience myself, like you meet a person and your first impression of them is like, a little bit off, like, I don't know. But then you see him and talk to him again, and you find out that what an amazing person they are. And you're like, if I would have not given this person a chance, it's kind of like...
First impressions are a tough thing. I feel like the most context that you hear about that is usually in the professional setting. Mm-hmm. I almost like never hear anybody like talk about the importance of first impressions outside of business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an interesting thing because... I think there's been people in my life where, upon first impression, I'm just like, I don't like them, like, whatever.
Like they're stuffy or they're.
But I have been proven wrong before. Mm-hmm. I have been, and thank God I've had those times where I have had the awareness to be like, I was wrong about that person. Like, this person's really not all that bad. I just never really got to know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie says a lot about that because it's not just like he's taking kindness on someone he's known for 20 years. Mm-hmm. He's taking kindness on a complete stranger, basically.
Yeah.
And anyways, I just wonder. I mean, like you yourself, and I know we're both passionate people about people. Mm-hmm. We're big people.
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 We're people.
That's true, but
person peoples.
I don't know. I mean, like, do you feel like somebody has to go out of their way to help somebody like that, or do you feel like there's a lot of different ways that somebody can express compassion for someone and share it?
I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways, but I think if you find a person that's like Dell, for instance, especially the point where he realizes that he doesn't have a family to go home to. No. He's here he is talking about, oh, my wife's got this meal going and we're gonna have the whole family over and I got my kids and my daughter's recital and all this stuff, and then at that point you realize he has none of that. He doesn't even, you don't even know if he has a place to live at that point. Like, where's he going? Yeah, like where's he going? And then, I mean, I definitely would have been like, hey, you're coming home with me. Like you need
someone that is gonna love you, right?
Yeah,
now.
And he
not
needs,
judge you.
Yeah, like you're welcome at my house, and I mean the stuff they've been through together. Even if they hadn't been through all the craziness and stuff, I mean, just
you can form fast friendships with people in a short amount of time. I mean, it depends on the circumstance for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had anything like to the extreme level of that where I felt so close, but I'm open to it. If it happens in life, if I get in a circumstance like that, I'm open to it because I'm a pretty, I don't want to say naive, but I'm a pretty open person to a lot of people. I'm willing to give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Really, I am.
Yeah.
I think most people, more than not, we have a lot more in common than we think. And even people that come from different, like, economical circumstances and whatnot. I mean, that stuff aside, I don't think a lot of people are meaning ill intent on someone. They're not meaning to harm you.
No, I think a lot of people, in this kind of situation, I think they just need somebody. They need somebody to actually just listen to them or just somebody to talk to. I mean... And
you have to wonder about the character of Dell, too, because, we don't know him until Steve Martin does, but, he says at the end of the movie, he hasn't been home for 8 years. Mm-hmm. What has he been doing that whole time? Probably just, like, traveling around, selling his stuff, and has
he just been living on the road? Has he... I mean, he's been alone for 8 years. Like, he had his wife that was, his... I mean,
his rock.
Yeah, like he loved her beyond, like,
worshipped her, basically.
Yeah. And now she's gone, and it puts in that perspective too, because we get so busy with our like everyday lives. And I know you're engaged to be married, so you're
Yeah.
gonna pretty soon you're gonna know like what it's like to be married, and
Sure.
juggling work and business and life and
Kids
bills and
eventually,
kids and whatever. And it gets away from you at sometimes, and life does just fly by. And when you see stuff like this, like these kinds of movies, like that's what really hits me, because I'm like, we're so busy and you don't always think about it, but what if your spouse or your family, what if they were gone? Like, what if they weren't there? What if you were in that position? Like,
Yeah.
and so then it makes you think, like, we really need to, like, do things, do more stuff. And, like you're talking about your mom, like, wanting to do, like, a family, road trip every year. It just it puts that in perspective. And
yeah, it's one of the reasons I love movies, honestly, is because sometimes movies as an art form can get a message like that across better than any painting, better than any lecture, better than any other medium. It's going to get that message across, and that's why they had the staying power that they do, the good ones, anyway, the ones that matter. And I do think this is a movie that matters. It matters to a lot of people. This is a Thanksgiving tradition for a lot of people to watch this movie, and I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. That's like the highest compliment that a team of artistic people could get, that people continuously come back to your work.
Yeah, like this is always going to be something that somebody's going to watch. And I like seeing the transformations of people on TV, like, in movies, like with Neil, like he, at first he's kind of this, I don't want to say selfish, but he's kind of, he's just big corporate. He's
kind businessy. Of an asshole. I can
he's
say
like,
it.
He's kind of a jerk. Like he's like, I got to get home and do this and that and whatever. And obviously he wants to get home to his family because he loves his family, which is awesome.
Family. Yeah, great.
But at the same time, it's neat to see his transformation throughout the movie to like from the beginning when you see him to he really starts getting these like emotions and feelings. And really starts, even though Del annoys the hell out of him for most of the movie, but then he does really start, I think, looking at him as like a friend, and like this guy does need something, and then towards the end, it's kind of like he's gonna be family now. Like
one of the parts I love the most, I might get like emotional. Just think, I can't help it. I mean, hey, if a tear comes,
like I always get teary at the end of that movie. Like I'm always like.
No, but like
crying.
a moment I think about, and I think it's so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful moments in this movie. It's towards the end. They get finally to the train station. They get to Chicago, and Steve Martin, Neil, he's about to leave Del on the train station. And it's presumably for the last time. And they're saying their goodbyes. They're doing it, but Neil says. He's just like, I'm going to look back at this and laugh, and whatnot. But he's just like, you know what? From this whole thing, it's like, I'm a little wiser, too. That line right there, I'm like, that hits home for me, like, on such a deep level that I'm like, somebody is self-aware enough to be like, you know what? I grew during this. And that's so great to see.
Yeah, I love that, too. And to know that you've changed because of a person. You've become a better person because of someone that came into your... And I even said this the other night. Me and my son my husband went to sleep because he had to get up early the next morning when we were watching this week. But me and my son were finishing watching it because it was almost over. And, I told my son, I said, God puts people in your life for a reason. Like, and this movie's a perfect example of that. I mean... Steve Martin's character maybe was lacking in some of those, feelings and like he just was so caught up in his work life and everything else that you got to throw that person in there to like open your eyes and really change your life, and to have a person that comes in, because I've had people like that in my life, and I know you have too, that you meet them and they're so cool and they do change your life. You're like, I'm a better person because I know you, or the things that this person does. I can think of a couple people like right off the bat that's like, just seeing the awesome things that they do for others. Like it makes me want to, I'm a people pleaser. Like I love helping people. And it just makes me want to do that much more. I'm like, I constantly feel like even though I'm trying to volunteer and do all this stuff, I feel like I can always do more. Yeah. And so to meet those people that actually make such a difference in your life and actually change you as a person in some little way, even if it's small or whatever. I mean, yeah, like, like John Candy, like now that, he's passed away, but when we talk about him, we remember this big, like, teddy bear, like, uncle, like, it just gives you a warm feeling. Like, if I just saw him walking down the street, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, you just want to give him a hug. Like,
I would definitely be starstruck if I saw John Candy and got to meet him. I would be starstruck. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, and there's just people like that you see them.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not usually like a big, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hug everybody in sight. Like, I'm not usually a big like that. But there's certain people that you see them and you're like, you are just amazing. Like, I just have to give you a hug, like, you made me a better person because of the actions that you do. So
there's a reason why I'm so passionate about movies and storytelling and actors, is because I just think they touch people in a way that, I mean, other professions touch people in certain ways. Like, a doctor will save you, and a lawyer will help you, or a police officer will help you when you need touch. Like, there's personal things that people's professions can do, but for myself, I'm so fascinated with the human experience, and I'm so fascinated with films and the filmmaking process and acting and how actors get to these different places and that they just bear their souls out there for everybody to see. And I know this is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's mostly considered a comedy, but the heart of this movie, that is the lasting power. That is what keeps this movie alive. I promise you, if it didn't have the heart in it, people wouldn't care.
Yeah, it'd be like,
it would just be any other disposable comedy.
Yeah, like, this is just a funny movie that we watch once in a while, but this is, I mean, I know we watch it at least every year. Sometimes more than once a year, but it's definitely a tradition in our house to watch. It's kind of like when Christmas, you watch Christmas Vacation and A Christmas Story and all that. I mean, they're just staples that you...
But do you ever watch a holiday movie out of the season?
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you said that you do for Planes, Trains. Because I think, like, a lot of people, and I get it, it's timely, it fits, it's in the vibe of the season, but it's like weird to me, like, if you were to watch Home Alone in July.
Oh, yeah, I've watched... So I love Christmas. So I will start, like, I've been watching Christmas movies for like 2 months now. And like, I'll put my Christmas decorations up and they'll stay up till February. I mean, that's just, but I mean, I could, like, in Christmas music, I'll start listening to it like right now and it'll be through the first of the year, whatever. But yeah, I've definitely watched, Christmas movies. Not often, but there's times where I'm like, man, I'm just in the mood to watch this movie and pop it in. And even
the
though it's not
last 3 Christmas movies you've watched, go.
Christmas Vacation, Elf, and Christmas Story. I mean, so Christmas Story, do you ever watch it?
Oh yeah, of course.
So they have 24 hours of A Christmas Story on like TBS or whatever.
They still do that?
They still do that.
All right.
It is on at our house 24 hours. It just constantly, the TV just constantly plays, and we'll watch that for 24 hours straight.
I will say, to plug A Christmas Story quick, one, if you haven't seen the movie, I mean, it's a classic. It's a fantastic movie. My favorite character in that movie, by far and none, is the father. I love him.
Yes.
I love him, and I love when he curses at that furnace. He's so mad, but they don't really show him swearing. He's just like...
And you don't really know, like, the swear words he's saying, but you just... Yeah, I love him.
He's mad.
He is... Yeah, there's a show that we watch every Saturday night that's it's called Kolchak the Night Stalker, and it's on... And he's like a reporter, but he goes in these murder scenes and all this stuff.
The same
guy?
Yeah,
the same guy, that Darren McGavin, and he
great actor.
He is a great actor, and I love him in that movie. That was the first movie I ever saw him in, and
that's most people are gonna remember him from that or Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Probably.
So when I first saw
What's my cat doing? She's trying to attack you.
She's trying to attack me.
Swat her away from that. Don't let her
Stop
do
it.
that. Thank you.
So when I first saw Christmas Story, so this, back when I was a kid, we only had like 3 channels. We didn't have cable. So we had like 3 channels. So when there was like an actual movie or something big, like once a year they'd show Wizard of Oz in color. So it was like, oh my gosh, I'd wait all year to see Wizard of Oz in color. Well then one night I was like just laying in bed in my room and I'm watching TV and this movie comes on and it's this little boy that wants a Red Ryder BB gun and I was just like, this is the most awesome movie I've ever seen. And it was so like it was just so simple and stuff. It was just this family and these little boys and whatever. And from that moment, like the moment I saw that movie, I was just like, and I met my husband not too long after that. And I was just like, you have got to see this movie. And he's loved it ever since. And I'm like, it's such a simple movie, but it's just, yeah, I love the characters. Like, they're just awesome. It's like great.
With Christmas Story, though, similar to Planes, Trains, and Away, there's some creative sequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when what is it? I can't remember the kid's name. I know Peter Bingsley or whatever plays the kid. But they have like that scene where he's saving his family from the robbers, or like his teacher
he's
like
got
a
the
witch.
gun and he's like,
so like there's
like, I'll get you,
some
Black Bart.
but there's some creativity.
Mm-hmm.
There's some creativity. It's not just straightforward.
No, it's very there's just so it's
but
so many fun scenes in that movie, like just kind of all over the place. Like just the parts where he's he's like daydreaming about his BB gun and just all the narration of the whole movie was I love it. And it's just I mean that's a whole other movie we could talk about.
I was gonna say you read my mind. I may need to do a podcast on that movie. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
That's great. One of my favorites.